You've probably seen the gorgeous photos of Iceland on different social media channels like Instagram, TikTok, here on YouTube. And while those are great and inspiring, there are certain things that people don't talk about or haven't mentioned that I feel are really crucial when it comes to planning a trip to Iceland and potentially seeing those gorgeous places. And not knowing these things can make or break your trip. So I'm going to share 3 things in particular for you to be aware of as you're planning your trip to Iceland, whenever that is in the future, will still apply. Plus, I'm going to provide a solution on how you can easily create your own personalized itinerary that fits how you want to spend your time in Iceland. For anybody that's new here, my name is Jules, and I've been living in Iceland since 2016, and I've been helping people to plan epic adventures around Iceland since 2018. Navigating the country helped me to really understand the ins and outs about the history, culture, language, and travel, which I enjoy sharing with all of you. The first crucial thing that people really don't talk about enough is daylight hours here. So in summertime, we have it where you have 24-hour daylight, which is the peak of summer. And then the peak of winter is where we have about 4 hours of daylight. So polar opposites in terms of time. And of course, in between those, like spring or fall, it really varies in terms of daylight hours. And our natural attractions, in order to see them, you have to have daylight. Except if you want to see the northern lights. So if you were coming in the peak of summer, let's just say, where you want to be able to hike at midnight because of that 24-hour daylight that we have, you can't see the northern lights. So knowing those types of things and managing your expectations around which season that you're going to come in will definitely make or break your trip. Now, is it possible to potentially see the northern lights and still have a lot of daylight hours? Yes, of course there are times in the year that happens, but they're much smaller windows than say like the span of winter or the peak summer months in which you can't see the northern lights, but still have so many other things you can potentially do. So always make sure that you're accounting for what the daylight hours are in Iceland when you're planning your trip, because it could mean that you would have more or less time to do something or not the ability to do something at all. Next is that road conditions and the weather can vary any time of year. It's always talked about how summer is the best time to visit Iceland. And yeah, again, it depends on what you want to do, but weather-wise, we can have intense windstorms, flooding, things like that that happen in the summertime. As well as in the wintertime, there definitely can be windstorms, snowstorms, ice. The conditions are really hard to predict in Iceland because we have volatile weather. Even in the summertime, let's just say you wanted to go up to the highlands, it can snow up there anytime. So in the summer, it can mean that yes, it's normally accessible, but maybe not because this week or something there happened to be a snowstorm or some kind of flooding. Roads aren't that great. It's just good to know this because again, managing your expectations about what's possible and what you may or may not be able to do helps you to then plan in alternatives if the conditions have changed in a way that don't allow for you to do what you initially had in mind. Now, I will say that snow in the summertime, for instance, just in the regular parts of Iceland, is not something that happens a lot, but it can. And that's why I always preface for people that regardless of when you're coming, it's good to be prepared mentally about the fact maybe your plans have to change. And you can keep up with the weather at safetravel.is, like weather warnings, and of course on weather apps. And if you want to see any of the road conditions for when you're planning to come, definitely recommend checking out road.is. Next one, people often show you it, but they don't really talk about it. And that is hidden gems versus the more touristy areas. And that even in areas like regions of the country at South Iceland, that there are hidden gems or at least lesser known paths and amazing things that you can do. But the reason why people don't talk about it is because they're trying to keep them to themselves. And I get it. I'm not trying to give away all the secrets. Not yet anyway. and that is because there are places where it's really lovely to go and there's not a lot of people, but at the same time, understanding that hidden gems versus touristy areas also depends on timing. So a really well-known iconic waterfall, for instance, that I'll show on the screen here, Seylandsfoss waterfall, absolutely beautiful. In that video, you'll see that I'm there practically by myself. There's nobody else around. And it's not because people don't visit this waterfall or I just had like some special privilege of being there. I just chose a time when I knew other people wouldn't be there. Typically, and this is at the peak of summer. This was in July of this year, of 2025. So it's definitely possible. But there's also, of course, hidden gems where during peak hours, meaning normal times of day, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, where there aren't as many people there. And getting to those places can often mean going more inside of like the highlands of Iceland, or just knowing about local roads that are accessible to the public, but people are just not aware of it. And these are the types of things, in my opinion, that allow for you to get to see the raw nature of Iceland that is so beautiful, and also just relax, enjoy, and not have like a crowd of people or buses all around you. Even though people try to avoid touristy places, I don't think that's necessary in Iceland per se. Like the South Coast, Golden Circle, they're touristy for a reason. A lot of people visit them because there are really beautiful parts of them to see, really beautiful attractions. But keep in mind that there are other parts of the country, other regions of Iceland that people totally ignore. Certain areas in the north, the west, the east, in particular. The east, honestly, if that's one thing I could give to you as a place to check out if you have the time, especially in the summertime or at least like early fall, late spring, absolutely worth it, because there's so much there and people just drive through and have no idea that there's like a lot more going on in this area. And in my opinion, mixing kind of the more well-known attractions with these more hidden gems or lesser-known places can really make for a special, memorable trip. These 3 things are just the tip of the iceberg. And in order to provide you with helpful information that will make creating your own personalized itinerary for Iceland a breeze, so much easier, no scrolling through all the blogs and different social media posts, I am hosting a live Iceland trip planning workshop in which I share with you the exact framework that I use in my private video consultations that people book me for to help them plan their trips. I've done hundreds of these private trip consultations over the years, so I know what works in terms of really personalizing and putting together an itinerary that fits what you want to do and see in Iceland. The Iceland Trip Planning workshop is 60 minutes, and in this time, you will learn to cut through the noise and know exactly what matters for planning your trip. When you're done, you'll be able to build your own personalized 5-day itinerary for Iceland for any season that you're planning to visit in. You'll get insider tips from me, a local who has been living and traveling around Iceland for the past 9.5 years. You'll have a clear, actionable plan that you can use right away. And at the end of the workshop, there is a Q&A with me, so you can ask any of the questions that you want about your trip, about Iceland, just understanding the country better, so that you can, again, be as clear as possible about how to plan your trip in the most optimal, amazing way. Plus, everyone who grabs their spot for this live Iceland trip planning workshop will be able to see the replay for up to 16 days. For those who show up live, though, you will be entered into a giveaway at the very end. After the question and answers, I'll be giving away some Iceland-related prizes. So definitely showing up live is worth it. As well as everyone who registers gets a 15% discount on my Iceland map, which has over 300 of my personalized recommendations for you to see around Iceland, including some of those hidden gems I was talking about. And for the first 50 people who register for the live Iceland Trip Planning workshop, you can save 15% on the workshop itself, which is, I made it an affordable price because I want people of all different types of budgets to be able to come and learn this information. I will say though that you gotta grab it fast, because the other day I mentioned this in my Instagram stories and people have already been signing up, and the discount code, which is SAVE15, is only applying to the first 50 people, so 50 people that sign up. After that, it's just the regular price, so you can still grab your seat, but don't miss out on getting that discount and saving a little bit of money as you plan your trip for Iceland. The link to the workshop is in the description below, so make sure you check that out and utilize this workshop to save your time, your sanity, and plan your Iceland adventure the smart way. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.